Today, we are talking about one of my favorite topics, product ascension ladders. It is essentially how you bring someone into your business, get them to know, like, and trust you and buy something from you. And the first thing that you want them to buy from you is something that gets them a quick win. So it's not an expensive product, but as they get a quick win from you and they move up the product ladder, eventually they become loyal, raving fans. And that is essentially what I teach in my 6-month signature program, the Empowered Business Lab, which is opening next week. And before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you that we are doing something completely different in our business. I believe in being the one to go first before I teach these strategies. And one of the things we're doing is we are taking the concept of a free challenge, which we've run many times in the past, and we are launching something called the Passion to Profit Experience. It's replacing this idea of a challenge, and instead it's a paid event. And it is meant to help you break free of the content hamster wheel where you're just offering free content all the time without understanding your end goal. And your end goal is, how are you going to make money in your business? And the way I teach is you make money through digital products. And I know that you might be wondering, am I right for the Empowered Business Lab? Like, I don't know where to start. And the Passion to Profit Experience is $29. And it's going to show you how to get started. And it's a live experience. So you get to work with me in a live environment. It's actually longer than a week. It starts on Monday, August 23rd. It goes through Monday, August 30th. There's so much we're going to cover. We're going to cover your path, where you learn the $1 million digital product formula. We're going to cover your genius, how to find the perfect solution for your ideal customer. We're going to talk about your offer, how to choose the perfect product to offer your ideal customer. We're going to do live Q&As. We're going to do working sessions together. And I'm going to do a live demonstration of how to build a successful digital product funnel in real time. So all of this for $29. It's going to be an amazing experience. I really think it's going to take what we see in the online world as these free challenges and really take it to the next level, because the amount of support you're going to get in this experience is just next level. So I hope you will consider joining us. You can go to empoweredbusiness.co/experience. And, if you're not convinced if digital products are right for you, I think you really should listen to today's episode about how Michelle integrated digital products into her own business and how it changed things for her. So before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about who Michelle is. Michelle is a mom of 3, a grandma to 1.5, so she has another grandkid on the way, and a wife for 26 years. She helps women balance hormones, bust cravings, break plateaus, and become the happy, healthy, active, hot, sexy woman, wife, mom, and grandma that they want to be, all while making food fun and taking the drama out of it. Her signature program, Become a MacroUnicorn, helps women understand how to feed their body so that it works with them instead of fighting them for their final weight loss journey. She has lost 100 pounds 3 times. And at 42, just as her hormones went wonky, she tackled the journey again and finally won the battle she has been fighting since she was 9 years old. Her mission is to help women win their weight loss battle for the last time, because the more women that win, the more healthy children this world will have. Which, what a bio that is, right? So Michelle has so much to offer us, and she's going to tell you about her experience inside the Empowered Business Lab. She's going to tell you about how she still works a full-time job and is building a digital product ascension ladder alongside of that while helping other moms get their weight under control. So no more from me. Let's dive in and hear from Michelle. You are listening to the Empowered Business Podcast. I'm your host, Monica Froese, a mom of 2 and your secret weapon to creating a 6-figure digital product business. I'm on a mission to help 1,000 women make $100,000 a year. That's right, $100 million towards financial independence for women. As an online business expert, I am teaching you everything I know right here week after week, so you can join us on the journey to $100 million. Sound good? Then let's jump in. Michelle, welcome to the Empowered Business Podcast.
Monica, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm like your stalker.
In the best possible way, though.
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess we'll just spoiler alert. Michelle's in our program, the Empowered Business Lab. And so you listen, my favorite types of students are the ones that participate and actually do the work. So you're like a model child for like a model student for what every program creator wants because you take action, and not only do you take action, but like you're okay with going outside of what I say too. Like if it doesn't fit the way you work. And I think that just makes, we'll talk more about that, but I think that makes like the perfect student versus someone who tries to like fit all of the things I teach into something that doesn't make sense to them, you know?
Yes.
So
I have to say that being that I'm dyslexic, I have to like make things work for me or it will never get done.
Yeah, and it serves you that you're like that. Like, so okay, we'll talk more about that. Before we talk about that, I want to talk about your entrepreneurial journey and how you even get started wanting to do digital products and where you are today.
Okay, so let's go back to the fact that I have a dual master's in software engineering and database design, and I have been in IT since I was 15. I love computers. I love everything about technology, except for the fact that you don't always get to tell the truth. So moving forward, I grew up in a self-employed household. The one thing left on my bucket list, I made my 6-figure income. I have the house I want. I have the kids I want. The one thing left on my bucket list of things to do is to be an entrepreneur and make more than my father.
Wow, now that's a goal I can get behind.
Yes. He built a construction company with an 8th grade education. One of the smartest people I knew on the planet, but this is like the last piece. So about 7 years ago, I lost 120 pounds and fell in love with coaching people because they put me on my first 900 calorie diet at the age of 9. It took me until I was 42 and my hormones started going wonky to actually figure out how to lose weight and keep it off. And I'm a control freak. Every doctor I've ever gone to has told me, just eat less and move more, and you're lazy. Well, it wasn't that. It was the fact that I'd spent a lifetime eating like crap and had hormones that made me crave everything and all that. So fell in love with coaching and moved forward to building a coaching business around a job that's more than 40 years. 2 teenagers still at home, grandkids, a husband, the whole big thing. So one of my coaches said, you need to have something that just shares, she said an SLO offer. So a self-liquidating offer that would basically pay for my ads so that I could build my 4-week program that helps women balance their macros. Well, I fell in love with Monica.
Which I'm so happy about.
Yes. I started by buying like templates from you because I am so not artistic. I am 100% math brain up here. So I started buying templates and then I moved forward and joined the monthly membership, which the name is escaping me currently.
Called the Empowered Business Box.
Empowered Business Box, yes. So I joined that and I started implementing. And then I also bought, your triple dip funnel. And then I bought this and then I bought that. I think I've bought everything from your store, basically.
Okay.
Did I mention I was stalking you? My daughter even knows your voice from the podcast because I listened to that. And she's like, are you listening to that lady again? But, so I built up a very small digital offer, but I couldn't tell where anything was coming from. And I'm a math person and I'm an IT person. And I knew that there was a way to figure out what people wanted. And I knew that there was a way to track where they were coming from, but I did not have the hours in my day to go figure out how to implement all of this on my own. I mean, I could have. I've hit 4.0 in like 2 full master's degrees and 2 partial master's degrees in a doctoral program. I kind of love to learn, but I just didn't have the hours in my day to coach people and do all of this. So that's when I joined. I sat through your EBL presentation twice.
Oh, did you?
I did. I did all of the legwork in your was 3 days, 5 days, your
3-day challenge.
Yeah. I did all of that. And then I went and implemented that the first time. And I started seeing some uptake because, I had the right keywords, and the keywords weren't just for Pinterest. I'm actually pulling in leads from Google without ads.
Awesome.
That I know now. Couldn't tell then, but I know now. So the more I did that, I saw a result. I was like, okay, EBL lab, the lab is really not good timing right now because I have another grandchild coming. I have to go to Hawaii, but I'm doing it anyway. So told my husband, I said, oh, by the way, I just spent a big chunk of money. You won't see it. It's in the business account, but just letting you know.
The business account is my favorite. My husband says this is like your hiding account. Cause I'm like,
Yes.
no, the business paid for that. He's like, I don't know if you can use that excuse all the time. I'm like, oh, I sure can.
Oh, yes. Yes. I was actually my father's bookkeeper and know the chart of accounts back and forth. And I can figure out how to put a lot of stuff on the business, and it's legal. So, it works.
Yeah. And I'm actually really, really conservative with what I expense. I can compare. I've been told by several like financial people that I'm really conservative with, but in essence, my business is pretty much my hobby too. So that's
Right.
the benefit I have with my husband that kind of makes it a little bit of an unfair argument, because what I enjoy to do is to make money, and I make money in the business. So when I invest in things, it's almost always a tax write-off. And he's like, that's just not fair. Because his hobby is not a tax write-off. And that's like one of the push and pull things we have in our marriage, because I'm like, do you know how much money you're spending? He's like, well, why don't I look at your business accounts? I'm like, oh no, that's okay.
Yes. Yes. We have a similar situation because I can write off my weights because I occasionally train people here at the house. I can write off supplements and stuff if I'm doing them for different things. And so it's this whole thing. And he can't write off his golf clubs. He can't write off a bicycle. He can't.
My husband's a collector of records, like actual records that you play on a record player. Right. And they're not cheap, by the way.
No.
And he definitely buys a lot. Like if he goes out of town, it's funny. I've had 2 nannies, and he's kind of in denial that he shops a lot. And so once these nannies were like, wow, your husband gets a lot of packages delivered. I'm like, yes. I know. Thank you. I'm not delusional. Right. And they're like, you are definitely not delusional. He shops a lot. I'm like, yes. Thanks for confirming that. Okay. So I have questions about the health coaching first. So you started basically in like the online space by offering a 4-week like group coaching program. How long ago was that? That
was 3 years ago, but it took me a while to figure out what my program was going to be. So, sorry, we have Jacket Puppy that has to be in the lap.
You have a puppy, I have a cat.
Yeah. So it took me a while to fine tune my program because I did not want to take something that somebody else had and stick it out there because did I mention that all of those some things that other people had did not work for me, and people were asking me what I did. So it took me a while to build my framework out and make it something that I was proud of. And a few times of almost quitting, being perfectly honest, there were a few times there where I was just like, this is just not ever going to happen. I'm not going to be happy with what it is. But I finally built out a program that I'm very happy with, that I know gets amazing results, not quickly, because quick weight loss, I've lost 100 pounds in 4 months. I gained it back in 6. So I am not a proponent of quick weight loss. I am a proponent of getting healthy. And
which is a big difference.
My program does that. It's not about being, a toothpick skinny. It's about being healthy and active and have the ability to live life.
So when was it that you got the program to the point where you felt like this is the program I want to be teaching?
Ironically, I got this program together over Christmas break this last year.
Okay.
Of, trial and error and combining everything. They become a MacroUnicorn program, which is my 4-week thing. I might have an obsession with unicorns, which is my 4-week program, is like absolutely phenomenal. The women are coming out of there going, I don't crave anything and I'm not hungry and I'm eating more than ever and I didn't have to give up carbs. And, so they're coming out on the other side of that 4 weeks with, 7, 8, 9 pounds gone and just feeling amazing. And
I love it.
it's working. So,
So now this is I'm going to say the term product ascension, and then I'm going to define it for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about. So product ascension is essentially how you bring someone into your business at like a lower product price. It's like the introductory offer. It solves one problem. It doesn't boil the ocean. That's one of the things I like to say to my students: do not boil the ocean on your first product. And it's like a way for, first of all, you get them in a result with it, but then also it leaves them wanting more on your product ascension ladder. And then they move through, essentially, we call it a funnel, but it's just how you bring buyers, how you attract buyers to you, and how you get them to love you and want to buy more for you. It's like a customer journey. I mean, funnel is such a bad word for it, but it makes sense because, an upside down triangle is very appropriate, which is a funnel, to explain how, you have unlimited potential for who can find you, but who's actually going to become a customer, at the bottom of that triangle is so much less. And that's why it's so important to understand who you're attracting at the top so that they actually buy for you. In essence, it's actually very logical. But okay, so on this product ascension ladder then, this is like your top of that. Like as you move people through it, like they want to end up in your group coaching program.
Yes. Well, it's kind of the middle. I have a membership called I'm a MacroUnicorn, because where I help with accountability and new ideas, new concepts, because as you lose weight this way, it's very different than what's out there. There are people that do macros, but they are so flippin' extreme. It's like, okay, I took a protein bar out of a package and I weighed it. And did you know that it's not accurate? The information on the package is not accurate. And I'm sorry, that's 50 years old. I will just put it out there. I do not have time for my food to be a lifestyle. It's food is food. And I just needed a framework so that I was eating in a way that my body would allow me to feel normal, because I did not feel normal for 42 years. Food controlled me. And I just needed this framework that made my body feel normal. So I use macros as a framework. Yep. So because of that, the membership is really important, because as you go through and you have questions, who are you going to ask? Somebody that's weighing a protein bar?
Yeah. Now, so essentially what they would call this is a back-end membership. So are the only people that you put in this membership people who go through the coaching first?
Yes, there is a require. I also do one-on-one coaching, which is a very high ticket offer. But I will not one-on-one coach someone unless they have gone through Become a MacroUnicorn and are in the I'm a MacroUnicorn membership. Okay. It is required because weight loss, oftentimes for many people, need the community. You need those people that are doing the same thing. It's just like entrepreneurship. It's, it can turn into a show that you don't want to be a part of. Watching my mouth. But it can turn into something that you don't want to be a part of if you don't have other people around you saying, oh, I went for a walk today. Oh, my child was able to put their arms all the way around me and touch their fingers, which is my youngest favorite story about as I was losing weight. He was 7, and the majority of his life, he couldn't get his arms around me. And one day he was coming out of 3rd grade and he ran up and gave me a hug, and he realized his arms overlapped. And he was still a little kid, but up to that point, he could not get his arms around me. So he used to walk behind me when we were coming out of school. He would put his arm around me, and he was able to get his forearm around my stomach as we were walking out. And he was so excited. He used to say, Mommy, look, Mommy, look.
That's amazing.
You need those stories. You need those. It becomes oftentimes when we're trying to change a lifestyle, we need somebody to aspire to be in order to make that change. Yeah. Just like in the EBL lab, I go in and I post stuff because I know there are people in the lab that are tech challenged, that are also could potentially be dyslexic. And they need to know that there are other options that they can figure out, or they can ask me in the lab and I help them, because that's part of it. It's building that community. It doesn't matter whether you're building a business or you're changing your lifestyle. Who is it that says you're like the 5 people you spend the most time with?
That's actually, that's a very popular saying. And it's something to really check yourself with, which is why it's important for me when I have students that are very active. It's like, and that's why we brought you on the podcast too, because like really it transforms the entire program. Like just because it's my program does not mean I can't single-handedly do it. I don't believe that at all. I think I'm leading the program and I have the framework for the program, but without getting other people's opinions and insights, and even like telling us how we can do better, how are you ever going to improve? Like you need people that are involved. Like that's unfortunately, I've been in a lot of programs where if a student comes in and says, hey, like I took your concept, but I tweaked it a little bit. It works a little bit better for my business. Maybe someone else wants to hear it. Like things that you do. The program creator sometimes gets really upset. And I honestly don't understand that. Like I'm a firm believer there's no one way to do business. There's no one way to do anything really in life. Like I welcome, this is why, like I tell people all the time, I have people in my life on completely opposite ends of the political spectrum, religious spectrum, because like, how do you grow and learn if you don't have people there who are, learning along with you?
Well, see, I grew up in a very confrontational household. It was believed that a good argument was like the best thing ever. You amazing. Only learn through arguing. I mean, not like, fisticuffs, but the only way you learn and grow is by, say, okay, here's my opinion. And then have somebody come back and say, oh, well, my opinion is this, and they clash. And then discussing the differences and why it works. My dad used to say all the time, his favorite thing about business was trying to figure out how to give something away to somebody to improve their life, but grow your business at the same time. And that's one of the things I love about digital products is I'm able to improve someone's life by giving them the first 3 simple steps to, in my case, hormone balance. I give them 3 simple steps to hormone balance. And it's like the basis of my framework, but it doesn't give all the details. It gives them enough to start making change, but it doesn't give everything.
It's essentially not the how. There's one way to look at when you're thinking about free content, like what you're putting out there is free versus what people pay you for. It's like you're explaining what it is and giving like a glimpse into how you solve it, but you're not mechanically really giving the how. That's what people need to pay you for. And that can be difficult for a lot of people in the start with digital products, because like my target market is actually bloggers who have been giving, as I say, the kitchen sink away for free. And then they're frustrated because they're like, I have spent hours and thousands of dollars and I was supposed to be making money. And they probably told their husband they'd be making money by now. And everyone's poo-pooing what they're doing online because they're like, this blog thing. Like people used to say blog with like a scowl on their face to me. And it's like, you mean my blog that makes multiple 6 figures a year? That blog that you're, poo-pooing. But a lot of people don't get there because all they've done is put out all this free content. And then they wonder why they're not making money. Well, it's because you're not offering anything for sale.
I fell into that because I was trying to grow my audience. So I created a blog and I was giving so much away. Every blog had a worksheet and every worksheet gave, the how. And I'm in the process of cleaning it because there needs to be a whole lot more why and a whole lot less how, because that introduction has got to be almost convincing them that they're not crazy, that they can do this. It's got to be the sales process in blog format and give them something, a little something, not a worksheet that gives them everything every time you write a blog post.
The correct way to do a blog, if you're going to blog, you don't have to, you do not need a blog. I don't blog anymore and I do just fine with all my digital products. And they're not just digital products teaching how to sell digital products. We have a lot of digital products that sell every day that have nothing to do with me teaching the topic. And you don't need to blog. But if you do, the whole point of the blog is to get them to take a singular action, period. And that action has to benefit your business. And the only way it can benefit your business is if it leads to a sale. So it's okay if it's just to get the email address. But guess what you're offering? As soon as the email address hits, as soon as it's given, you're offering what you referred to earlier is that self-liquidating offer. We call it a tripwire. Honestly, it's a limited time offer. That's what it is. That's like I call it the gateway drug into digital products. When a blogger discovers the power of, they're like, well, yeah, I collect email addresses and they don't really know why, and they don't really do anything with it. And it never leads to money. When I have my bloggers, the first thing, put a tripwire, a limited time offer behind that opt-in and do nothing else. And they get that first sale and they're like, oh, this is what it's like to make money online.
You know, I'm a coach, but do you know how many times I got emails back from a blog post that I sent out or a podcast? Because I have a podcast called Reaching Wonderland. And that podcast, people would like respond and say, you know, I love what you're putting out there, but I don't know how you help me. And that happened like right before December. And I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm making, you know, a little bit of money, enough to cover some of the expenses, but really I'm not covering anything. It's a hobby. And until I make money, you know, repeatedly, consistently, it's a hobby. So once I got that, I was like, okay, I need the SLO. I need that tripwire. I need that. I've got to figure this out. So, you know, and you do a phenomenal job of teaching us how to come up with those keywords, how to figure out what people need, and then creating something from that. Because I actually took a step back from what I was offering and figured out, oh, there's a level before this. And what I'm offering at the SLO at the $7 price is too much, because I was getting emails. I don't understand, and this and that. And you should never be answering emails for a $7 product.
Never. You're right. The only time you should answer an email on a $7 product is someone spelled their email address wrong and they didn't get the product they bought, period. But no, like you should not. Yes. That is a really actually good differentiation you made, that it in your brain, you knew like, no, this is too much if they're confused on such a cheap product, because you can't support that.
Right. So I went back a step as I went through all of your, you know, your free stuff. And I looked at what you were offering for free. And I was like, okay, so how can I do something similar? Break things down a little more, give them a win.
Yes, a win.
A win. You know, I want them to, they're only looking for weight loss. I want them to start looking for improved energy, for improved clarity, because unfortunately, once your hormones go wonky, it's like looking through a fog. And so, you know, I want them to notice things like the clarity and the energy and their mood, because the wonky hormones also affect mood. So if they start looking for those things, and I can give them 3 simple tips or steps to improve those, that is going to be like the $9 offer, because I was obviously $7, $9, whatever, because I was obviously not charging enough for the one that they were inundating me with questions. So, and I needed to add more to it. So I took what you taught and I created a guide versus a mini course. And the guide breaks down those 3 steps, and then it leads to the mini course and a macro calculator. And then that leads to become a MacroUnicorn. And then that leads to I'm a MacroUnicorn. And then if I see somebody really struggling, because my one-on-one coaching is by application only, I will offer that to them.
So you have a beautiful product ascension ladder now.
And I even have it diagrammed thanks to you, because in order to explain it to you, I had to put it in a diagram, and I printed off the diagram, and it's going in my new office because I'm getting an office upgrade.
Nice.
Okay. So, you know, I've printed it off so that I'm not creating things outside of that, because I don't want crazy. I want a simple ascension process Yes, I have more than one way to get into it, which means I have to adjust the guides a little bit. But because of that, everything after those guides is the same.
So all of the beginning parts of your Ascension ladder, you've pretty much developed since joining the lab?
Yes. Well, one of them I had developed, but it had a different name and it was just a Google Doc. One of the things that is so phenomenal about the lab is the templates that come with it, because you have an ebook template and then you have a mini course ebook template and all of that. We mentioned I'm not artistically inclined. So I was able to take that ebook template and the guide, hand it off to my 16-year-old who is my VA and say, go make this look pretty. And then
Nice.
On the last page where there's the offer and stuff, I was like, okay, don't do that. I will come back in and fill that in, because, what are we doing as parents if we're not teaching our children that A, they have to work for things, and B, that there are ways that they can be self-employed too. My daughter is working on being a
Love
VA
that.
because she does not want to go to work for somebody else while she's in college, and she's going into her junior year. So she's learning how to be a VA, kills three birds with one stone. One less thing I don't have to do, and keeps her gainfully employed.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's me. I can see when my daughter, she's 8 now, but as soon as she can be on payroll, actually, I think you can technically put them on payroll now. It's a little different though when they're younger, but because I have a feeling she's got the deep entrepreneurial spirit to her, and I am not creative like you either. That's what I have Haley for.
I know.
Haley's our operations
I need
manager.
a Haley in my life.
So if you ever join any of my programs, all of my students ask where they find their Haley. And yes. I got very, very lucky because she is like, it's so funny because her brain to a degree works like mine. So we track really well together. Mm-hmm. But if someone just came to my door too, my house is so crazy this morning. So this is like real life podcasting going on. Google just told us someone's at our front door. So if you heard that, oh, well.
I didn't hear it, but I have a dog in my lap. So
yeah, it's real life when you're podcasting as a mom with lots of kids in the house. Okay. So now you have your product ascension ladder figured out, right? It's built. Your daughter helped you build it, which is a great learning lesson for her. And so now, and the whole point of EBL is, and this is pretty much how we're positioning it now, is how to grow your audience and get paid to do it at the same time. The idea is that, your $27 product is not where you end. The idea is that like what you were told by your coach early on is that, to bring people into your group coaching is going to cost you a lot of money. And, to find those essentially cold leads, like people educating them on what you do. And it's hard to educate someone on a big program. It's so much, and this is what bloggers try to do if they're doing it right. They try to give you all the free content to educate, hopefully somewhere that you're going to buy from them. But unfortunately, the stepladder approach is so much more effective if you're getting paid for it along the way. So that's like, in a nutshell, getting paid for your entire product ascension ladder, which is what you're doing now.
Yes, because the goal is less time for me, more automation, so that I can focus and love on the people that come into my programs, because I'm like one of those people like you that I can't not answer a question. And I want people's success so badly that I want to love on them and spend time with them. And sometimes I message some people on Facebook Messenger, and, it's once they get into my group program and into my membership, I have boundary issues because I want them to succeed and I want to answer their questions. And sometimes the answer is, I will put a video together and put it in the group for everybody because this question is huge and everybody needs the answer. Sometimes it's, my dog was hit by a car and my kid is screaming and I just need to talk through it so I don't eat through it.
And that's like, me and you are very similar in this regard but the key is I will go over and above for people who are equally as dedicated to seeing like that are putting in the work. If you're putting in the work, I will I don't care what the program limits were or whatever. I will help you until I'm blue in the face if I can. If you are involved in putting in the work, that is like the key thing. I'm so motivated to help people that are working to build. And that's why I feel like you resonate so much with me, because you really put in the work and give just such great insight. So you're like a model student. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It's kind of being a student is something I absolutely love. And I think that's the reason I love coaching so much, because I can pick out those people in the coaching programs. I tell people all the time, I want to be your favorite teacher, your favorite coach from high school, the one that you like did the extra credit in their class because you just couldn't wait to get to their class the next day.
I love that.
You know, and that's how I have a child that's also a teacher's pet. And she does the same thing. And it's this whole concept of, you know, being that person to somebody else is extremely motivating. But then if I'm wanting that in my programs, I have to give that in other people's programs. But sometimes it's received well, like with you, you know, we've hit it off. We've had a few conversations where we're like, yeah, we think alike, you know, but on the other side, sometimes it's not so well received.
I agree.
You know, in your program, I have access to you via the group. And I know if I post something in the group, you're going to respond. There's rarely reason to reach out via Messenger other than to say, go, Monica. I love that statement.
Well, we'll end on this, but I will say this for anyone. So the hardest thing is, and this, I had to work really hard on this. I've had people come into my paid programs to poach my student. And unfortunately, there are bad apples everywhere you go in life. And it is hard. You know, I'd never want it to be I can't do this if I'm closed down to people like you who are genuinely looking to help their people do better. And they just need those marketing skills to do so. I don't want to be closed off to that because a few people took advantage of me. And it happened a lot when I ran the Pinterest ads course. Like we'd have people come in just poaching students and in general, like being combative with me. Like I'm going to post something opposite of what you say, but it's not because I'm trying to give a different viewpoint to help your students. I'm really getting them to click on my Facebook profile. So then they'll come and join my thing that's a competitor to yours. And that's that's gross. People don't do that. You know, and so like when I find
health coaches that do the same thing.
And like I said, bad apples everywhere, but you cannot let that stop you from helping the people that really need you. Because if I had done that, we never would have met. If I let it stop me, and what a shame that would have been, you know, like for us never to have met.
Yes, I am so glad that we met. This whole process has changed a lot of my business for the better. And I would totally, I've got friends that I'm like, oh yeah, you have to go, you have to go get into Monica's world and then don't hate me because you spend so much money.
Well, that honestly, that means so much to me. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. And for like being genuine about it, you know, like it makes it all worth it. It makes all those copycats I ever had worth it that I stuck in and kept doing it to find people like you. So thank you.
Well, I am very, very glad you stuck to it because you are making a change in my business and even my husband's chiropractic business that you don't even know anything about. So
that's amazing. Okay. Well, as people were listening, I'm sure they're more interested in the macro stuff too, because there's a lot. I mean, our target audience is women. And so there's probably, and I'm very open about, I've talked about my weight loss struggles on the podcast, and there'll be more about that coming out later. So if people are interested in working with you, how do they get into this funnel of yours?
Okay. It's very simple because simple is good. Go to go.macrounicorn.com. That's all they have to do. You know, and what is more unique than a macro unicorn?
That's right.
I almost wore my unicorn shirt just, you know, because that's me.
I like unicorns. My daughter likes unicorns too. So you get along great. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. It's been really fun. And I appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate you so much. And thank you for having me. It was a blast.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Empowered Business Podcast. If you were inspired by Michelle's journey and you're interested in joining me inside of the Empowered Business Lab, then the perfect place for you to start is with our Passion to Profit experience that is starting this coming Monday, August 23rd. The Passion to Profit experience is meant to be an interactive event where you get to work closely with me and your peers to really discover what the perfect digital product would be for you to launch to your audience, and even if digital products are the right route for you to go in your business. So this is a perfect introductory to digital products and the way I teach. And if you go through the Passion to Profit experience, then you can decide if the Empowered Business Lab is right for you. Now, if you want to join us, you can head on over to empoweredbusiness.co/experience. I hope to see you there. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again here next week.